SummerSlam 2016, Seth Rollins has Finn above his head looking for a barricade powerbomb, but Finn reverses, which allows Finn to toss Rollins into the ring, line up a shotgun dropkick, which leaves Seth in the drop zone for a coup de grace. Finn Balor announces himself on the big stage and wins the inaugural Universal Championship. But there's no rest for the wicked, as Finn is on Raw the next night, looking fresh as ever as the new champion. And he's watching four men duke it out for the right to face him at the next pay-per-view Clash of Champions, and this match is packed with action. It's a single fall finish, and Rollins is poised to bounce right back into title contention as he hits a pedigree on Owens on the outside. He then runs back inside the ring, and he dodges Big Cass, but he manages to also hoist him up and drop him for a pedigree as well. But he's about to make the cover. He gets speared out of his boots by Roman Reigns, and then the momentum carries him out of the ring, and then Roman lines up Big Cass, nails him with a spear for the win. Roman Reigns gets first crack at Finn Balor. Rollins is left crestfallen, which in turn leaves Triple H somewhat crestfallen at the mere thought of being aligned with him. And as he and Stephanie McMahon watch on backstage, he says, "We might need to take a look at who we surround ourselves with." It's Balor's first big test, and it's arguably the ultimate test right now in Roman Reigns, and it is a banger. Balor really hits his stride with Reigns, and they leave it all out there. It really shows the audience that Finn Balor is genuinely the real deal. And another man who might feel the same is Triple H, who is again seen watching backstage, but this time with his protege Seth Rollins, who is clearly uncomfortable with it all. But it gets even more uneasy when Balor counters a spear, and he lines him up, nails a shotgun dropkick, goes to the top, and drives his feet into the chest of Reigns to successfully retain. And Triple H very unsuddenly says to Rollins, "Now that is a guy who is best for business." Triple H lets Seth know that he's on thin ice and that he's eyeing off Finn Balor as his potential plan B. But the question would be, is Finn Balor even interested? Well, in an interview with Michael Cole, he asks him straight up, and Balor says, "You know, that's a big question, Michael. I've gotten here on my own, but I'd be lying if I said that You know, Finn, it almost feels like in an alternate universe, it'd be me holding that championship. And I'm going to tell you right now, to your face, that very soon, I will be holding it." Or is that right, Kevin? That's funny because you had your chance and you blew it, just like Seth Rollins did. You are living in an alternate universe, but I'm living in this one as Universal Champion. Oh, is that right, Finn? You know what? I don't like your tone. Yeah, that's right. I don't like it one bit. You know what happens to people that I don't like the tone of? You know what happens to people who disrespect the rightful number one contender to the Universal Championship? You want to know what happens, Finn? Huh? You just made the list! Finn makes the dreaded list, but that isn't all, because Owens attacks, and it's clear he just wants to force his way into contention rather than earning it, because another man who's heeding the warning of Triple H hits the ring to clear it out. And he spares no one. He has punishment for Jericho. He has punishment for Owens. And of course, he saves some for Finn Balor. And this impresses Triple H, who actually rewards Seth by setting up a number one contenders match for the Universal Championship between Rollins and Owens, which is obviously a monster Raw main event, but it's made to feel even bigger by the fact that Triple H decides to get a close look at it while standing next to Finn Balor. And he's in his ear the whole time, no doubt trying to recruit him. But his current protege is engaged in a war with the prize fighter who is in search of the biggest prize on Raw. And as the match gets into deep waters, with Rollins and Owens just throwing everything in their arsenal at each other. But in doing so, the referee happens to get in the way, albeit at the hands of Owens. And there was a good reason why, because here comes Jericho. However, instead of getting involved, Triple H decides to see it as a test for Rollins, which he inevitably fails. And right after the match, Owens and Balor face off, and Seth Rollins is beside himself. He's losing it at Triple H, and he's asking him why he just let all this happen. But Triple H ignores him, and he even goes as far as confirming that at Hell in a Cell, Owens versus Rollins will indeed be inside one, with the prime objective of keeping Chris Jericho out, which of course enrages Rollins even more. And as the show rolls around and the cell is lowered, things ramp up to a whole different level, because now we see the violent side of Balor. We've clearly seen he can go in a regulated environment, but when left inside a cell, he shows Owens, who is extremely comfortable here too, that this championship is firmly in the grasp of the Irishman. And of course, yet again, Triple H watches on with intent. However, there is no sign of Rollins anywhere. But there is a huge sign of Chris Jericho, who comes out and starts climbing the cell. And when he gets to the top, he tries to break in. But as he is, we do then see Seth Rollins, and he's climbing the cell now, and he makes it to the top to go toe-to-toe in a very dangerous position, all while the match continues underneath them. And we see Balor hit a shotgun dropkick, and despite being hurt and exhausted, tries to claw his way up to the top rope to finish it off. But above, Rollins hits a pedigree on Jericho, which cracks open the roof, and Rollins desperately tries to claw his way in. But just as he gets to open it and he jumps in the ring, Balor has already hit a coup de grace and retained. But it doesn't stop Rollins, who goes at the vulnerable Balor, and he heaps on the pain. It's cheap, but it's a message that Rollins is going to be unrelenting in his chase for Balor and the Universal Championship, which actually somewhat impresses Triple H as well, who, just like the number one contenders match, sees it as a good test this time for Balor, and he lets the beating go on without getting involved. However, he does see it for what it is, and it was a cheap shot from Rollins, and he gets Balor in the ring, and he lays it all out on the line for him. Finn, I know that you know why I'm here. I've been incredibly impressed by you and how you've carried that championship. But what I also know is that I saw it before anyone else. I brought you here. It was me. I brought you into NXT because I saw the potential, just like I saw it in Seth. Which brings me to my next point. You might not want to hear this, but I think you two can be better together. It's the whole reason I brought you to NXT, and it's the same reason I want to guide you both. I want to solidify you both as top guys. So what do you say? Do you want to buy in? SmackDown superstars are invading Raw. They're picking this moment to wage war on Raw, and it's led by none other than WWE Champion and figurehead of SmackDown, AJ Styles, who is all too familiar with Finn Balor. But Raw doesn't sit back and wear it. We see Roman Reigns, we see Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, all coming out to confront them. And while wild brawls break out all over, it ends up in the ring with Orton and Styles preying on Triple H and Balor. And it's looking like Triple H is actually going to have to step in. But he has saved the fight by his protege Rollins, who steps in as Triple H steps out. But as they both attack together with an RKO and a phenomenal forearm, the damage is done. The SmackDown crew leaves the building, which also leaves Balor and Rollins to pick themselves up, and when they wind up back to back and spin, they want to go. It looks like a powder keg waiting to explode, but Triple H steps in and says, wait, this is what I mean. I think you two can work together. We can work together. Think about it. We could be unstoppable. I brought you both in because I believe in you. We can be better together. Raw retaliates. They invade the blue brand this time, and it's on all over the building. Ellsworth provides zero once again, but it is again that we see Orton and Styles holding court against Rollins and Balor, who this time actually do work together. And this time, they get the better of Team SmackDown. And you can see it in their eyes that this could actually be a powerful partnership, and Triple H knows it. And he meets with them both backstage to reiterate how big this could be, but also to deliver the news that Finn Balor has been anointed team captain of Monday Night Raw, which doesn't sit totally well with Seth, but that could light a fire underneath him, or could also burn things down. Well, as the classic Survivor Series elimination match rolls around, we get the answer, because the eliminations roll, much like Ellsworth once again, who offers 0. But after some somewhat surprisingly good teamwork from Rollins and Balor, they manage to get the match whittled down to a 2-on-1, and it's Styles fighting for survival. And he manages to force Seth out of the ring so he and Balor can go. And now the two world champions from almost parallel backgrounds bring the house down. But it's Styles who gets on top for a phenomenal forearm, which Styles hits. And then it's followed by a Styles clash for a massive elimination. But the moment he gets the elimination, he is eliminated by Rollins with a thunderous pedigree. And it's Rollins who takes all the plaudits. And he pins the SmackDown World Champion. But the win isn't all he gets. He gets all the credit from Triple H, who is in the ring on the next episode of Raw, singing Rollins' praises for learning and adapting. He's shown the kind of grit and skill that Triple H always knew he had. But this gets interrupted by Finn Balor, who comes down, and he's also singing the praises of Seth. He says he's happy that Team Raw got the win, and he says it was their teamwork that ultimately got it done. And Balor stands next to Triple H, who is looking chuffed. He can see the plan coming together. Triple H is confused. He doesn't know why Finn is doing this. But it's then Finn tells Triple H to look at the Tron, and we see another angle from Survivor Series, and it's one that sees Seth having the ability to stop Styles, but letting Balor get eliminated in order to take the glory. And then Balor looks at Triple H and says, "Me, him, Roadblock for the Universal Championship." Triple H looks conflicted. On one hand, Rollins has shown the kind of cerebral nature he always wanted. But on the other, Balor has been so dominant. And in the lead up to Roadblock, Balor and Rollins are inseparable for all the reasons Triple H doesn't want. They're at each other's throats every single opportunity they get. And it reaches a boiling point at Roadblock in the Falls Count Anywhere street fight for the Universal Championship. And they bring the heat. This has been bubbling for months, and it finally explodes to life with both men tearing shreds off each other, trying to assume the power of the Red Brand. And they fight over towards the announce desk, and it gets precarious to say the least. But Rollins manages to get on top of Balor, load him up, and drive him through the desk. Rollins stands over, just moments away from capturing the title, and he looks down at his prey. Triple H laces Rollins with the sledgehammer, and he makes the save for Finn Balor, dragging him on top of Rollins to hand him the win. But that isn't all he hands him, because he goes, grabs the Universal Championship, gives it to Finn Balor. It's clear that Triple H has made his choice, but what isn't clear is what Balor's choice will be, because he clearly had no idea this was going to happen. But it did happen, and with every action is a reaction, and Seth Rollins is on the warpath, and he hunts down Triple H backstage, and it's on sight. Rollins and Triple H get into it right away, and are eventually separated by security, and this is where Stephanie McMahon has to step in, and she slaps Rollins across the face, and now he's seeing red, and he grabs her, and he's gonna look for a pedigree. But from out of nowhere comes Finn Balor, who grabs Rollins and throws him off her. But there's almost no amount of security that could hold Triple H back after seeing this. And he finds his way to Rollins, and he manages to hit him with a pedigree on the concrete. It's absolutely vicious, and this situation has really gotten out of hand. And Triple H locks eyes with Finn, who saved his wife from Rollins, and there is a mutual respect. But is there an agreement? Is that Finn accepting Triple H's offer to buy in? We're gonna have to wait and see. But what we don't have to wait for is the inevitable challenge when Triple H storms out to the ring the week after and challenges Seth Rollins to a fight at the Royal Rumble, which he accepts on the spot, not with words, but yet another brawl that sees them once again pulled apart by security. But nothing is stopping them from getting at each other when they face off at the Royal Rumble in a no disqualification match. And it just spills over as it gets underway. They can't contain themselves. However, further speculation grows on Balor as he is given the night off by Triple H, giving him a pass all the way through to WrestleMania 33, where he is now guaranteed to defend his championship. But that is then, this is now, and this match is brutal, and it's the real return of the King of Kings, the cerebral assassin. He picks Rollins apart, just like he has so many others. But one thing he should have accounted for was the very thing he always asked for, and that was Rollins to show some more grit and show some spite. And he does, and he fights right back into it. Balor did it! He bought in! He sided with Triple H! And the crowd has the air sucked out of it! They don't know how to feel! Balor was their guy! Balor was their hope to topple this regime! But instead, he just becomes part of it! Or so we think. Balor chooses to back himself, and the crowd goes berserk. He is their champion, and Balor leaves both men laying. But the match is still going. It's no disqualification, and Seth Rollins scrapes and claws his way over, showing grit and get the win. And you can really feel the rumblings of a large magnitude earthquake brewing, because this sets off a series of events that could make, but most likely break, the foundation of these two proteges' careers. Because the King of Kings is hunting, and he goes off when he gets to Raw. So this is what it comes to, huh? This is how you repay the faith. I brought you both from obscurity. I laid the world at both of your feet, and all you do is shit at mine. Well, congratulations. You just woke up something that has laid dormant for too long. You just woke up the game. And when I find either of you, it's game over. Triple H wants to find both Rollins and Balor, but he doesn't have to look far, because Rollins hits him head on the moment he reaches the top of the stage, and the hatred-filled brawl heads back towards the ring. But it's then the third part of this equation hits the ring, and it's a three-way brawl that reaches a fever pitch. None of these men like each other, and Balor and Rollins are throwing in the corner, and the game slips outside and grabs the infamous sledgehammer. And things take a dark turn when Triple H smashes them both. And he flicks that switch we've seen in the past. And it does indeed feel like it's game over as he bludgeons both of his proteges. And he has a message. If this is what you want, this is what you'll get. I brought you both into this world, so now I'm gonna take you out. WrestleMania. Triple threat for the Universal Championship. It's on. The triple threat for the Universal title. The self-proclaimed creator against his creations, which they've both taken umbrage with because they were both self-made before they even arrived. But he's the game. He's one of the best ever, and he wants to take the championship and give it the prestige he feels it deserves. And it's looking like he will. He pedigrees the demon on the outside, smashing his skull off the concrete. And Balor is showing very few signs of movement. And then Triple H turns his attention to Seth, a man he did take to massive heights, but also a proud man who's always in his heart of hearts wanted to do things for himself. And he certainly does here. He takes Triple H right up to the edge, and he shows him that he can thrive on his own. And they exhaust each other completely. They've thrown everything they have, but it's the wily veteran who gets the edge, lands the pedigree, but he's so exhausted he has to collapse. But while he collapses, another man rises. The King of Kings falls on his sword. The Kingslayer falls agonizingly short, but he lives to tell the tale and enhances his own reputation. But it's Balor who rises to become a top guy. And while Triple H tried to kill his creation, instead, he created a demon.